This next section focuses on how to use data from MAP to differentiate instruction for your students. We're moving into the practical application of using student data to inform our instruction. We will move through a process of identifying learning statements appropriate for small groups of students based on their RIT scores, into planning how to guide students to meet the skills at their own zone of proximal development. We will use a tool in your workbook on page 15, the Data2Instruction framework. This framework helps us with instructional planning, so we might guide our students at the level where they are ready to learn. Turn to page 15 and locate the Data2Instruction framework. Looking at the class view of the learning continuum, we see a lot of useful information organized in one place, the class view. Looking at the class view for your students, select a content area and then a topic area. Finally, select a goal and a sub-goal area. For this example, I've selected 5th grade, reading, setting within the literature, key ideas, goal area. Next, I transferred this information from the class view to the Data2Instruction framework. Content area is reading, topic and standard would be setting, and we get more specific with the goal area, literature and sub-goal area, key ideas, details. Moving on, we need to go back to the class view in the learning continuum for our students' RIT ranges. Looking at the class view in the learning continuum, we can see the RIT ranges in the far left column. Within the RIT ranges column, identify the ranges of RIT scores of our students for literature, key ideas, details. I can see that my students' RIT score fall within 5 different RIT ranges, from a low of 171 to 180 and a high of 221 to 230. Then we identify the middle range of RIT scores in this particular goal area. This can be done in 3 ways. You could use the mean for this grade level based on norms. You will find that score in the normative data document. For example, I selected 5th grade reading and fall beginning of the year. The grade level mean RIT is 207.1. You could also use the median score for your class that is located in the class report. For this group of 5th grade students, the median is 201, which is still within the RIT range of 201 to 210. Or you could select the RIT range where a majority of your students fall. Most of the students in this example fall within 2 RIT ranges, 191 to 200 and 201 to 210. If I selected 191 to 200 as my middle, I would only have 1 student in my low group and 6 students in my high group that are spread across 3 RIT ranges. This would not be the best option for my class. Students in the 201 to 2 RIT ranges will probably need different instruction from my student in the 221 to 230 RIT range. For this example, I will select 201 to 210 RIT range as my middle. Next, I identify the RIT range scores above and below the middle. This helps me to see how best to organize students in small groups. Now we go back to the Data2Instruction framework and record this information. Starting with the RIT score range, my class RIT score range is from 171 to 221. Then we fill in the left 2 columns. We can start with the middle group. I have 3 students that fall within 201 to 210 RIT range. Next, we move to the below score range. I have 5 students that fall within the 171-200 RIT range. Finally, we enter the information in the above score range cell. I have 3 students that fall within 211 to 221 RIT range. Moving on, our next step is to identify the skills or learning statements associated with the RIT ranges for each of our student groups. To do this, we go back to My Class View in the learning continuum. Focus your attention on the middle column. For each RIT range, we find literary elements, setting, with skills or learning statements in bullet form. These skills will help us focus our instruction for students in our 3 different groups. When selecting the skills, think about the length of your lesson. If you were to select all of the learning statements within one RIT range, it may take several days of instruction for students to master all of the skills. If your intention is for one class period, you may want to limit the number of learning statements to one or two to focus on for each small group of students. You may notice some of the skills are listed in more than one RIT range. Those are considered wide skills, and they are skills that are more complex and therefore span more than one RIT range. Although the wide skills are listed in more than one RIT range, the instructional strategies I would use for students in each group would be different and appropriate for students within each of those groups. For my middle group, I'm selecting compares or contrasts setting across literary works and draws conclusions about a setting based on a description. For my below group, I'm selecting identify details that reveal aspects of setting and draws conclusions about a setting based on a description. For my above group, I'm selecting analyzes how setting affects characters, draws conclusions about a setting based on a description, and analyzes how setting contributes to plot. As I select these learning statements, I'm thinking about how I will address these learning statements with each small group of students. Which instructional strategies or student activity will best help my students master these skills? Now we go back to the Data2Instruction framework and transfer the selected learning statements into the appropriate columns. Finally, we need to think about how we're going to scaffold student learning so they can master these skills. Which instructional strategies should we use? What activities should students engage in? What appropriate classroom assessments can we use to measure success? How will we know when students within a group are ready to move to the next RIT range or a new topic or standard? Looking at your own materials such as a teacher's guide and district-developed grade level curriculum, you'll often find suggested ways to teach the different skills for a specific topic. Another idea is to collaborate with teachers at your school that have experience teaching grade levels above and below your group of students. In addition, there is a wealth of information on the internet you may find helpful. Recommending specific instructional strategies and student activities is not the role of NWEA. This is where you draw on your instructional expertise. It is your role to select the strategies and activities for your unique group of students. You now have 15 minutes to work with your grade level partner and discuss instructional strategies and student activities appropriate for your student groups so that they master the selected skills or learning statements.